Hey, it's Sylvan, and this is the Handpan Podcast. Joining me in this episode is my friend Andi Steil, who is a German musician and a comedian in the northern part of Germany. In the episode, we talk about how to start creating in a simple way, and how oftentimes that simplicity empowers us to experience creative freedom. You'll want to listen to how Andi learned how to play the drums. It's pretty funny. But really, I think this podcast episode will encourage you to enjoy the creative journey. So let's jump right in to a conversation with Andi Steil. Well, hi, Andi, and welcome to the Handpan Podcast.
Hey, Sylvan.
Hey, I'm really excited for our conversation today for a couple of reasons. I followed your creative work for about 10 years, I think, and it's been a great source of inspiration. But also, it seems to me like your approach to making music very much aligns with the vision I have for the Handpan Podcast, which is to experience the simple joy of creating. So I thought I would start with the beginning. When in your life did you start playing music?
I start very early, when I was 6 years old, to be honest. I start singing in school, and my father was a music teacher, but piano and accordion. My mother was a singer, and in school, first I joined choirs, and at home I made a bit of music with my father. He taught me a bit of piano. That's 6 years, and I started drumming at the age of 12 on bongos.
Drumming on bongos. Okay, so playing bongos.
Percussion more, yeah. But I played the bongos like the drum set, like bass and snare. I didn't at that time. I didn't knew any patterns from bongos, so I just played like a backbeat on the drum. I played it on the bongos, deep bongo for the bass drum and the high bongo for the snare.
So you were drawn to the drum kit, it sounds like.
Yeah. Very soon. After my father decided not to teach me on piano again anymore, because I was one of the last pupils he get, or students he get during the day, and he hadn't any patience to teach me. And he said, if I want to learn piano, you have to get another teacher. And then I said, oh, well, Papa, what do you think? I think I want to play drums. I would like to play drums more.
So what happened from there? You wanted to, obviously you grew up in a musical family.
Yes.
But you didn't completely follow in their footstep of being classically trained and kind of in institutionalized music. You took a more creative approach, it seems like.
Yes, I was more like watching other musicians, watching even my father, even my mother, listening to my mother when she was singing. And immediately when the radio was turned on, I joined music on the radio, accompanied it with my own singing or with such other things. And when I asked my father to buy me a drum set, he gave me only a pair of sticks. And I was glad that I don't ask for an aquarium, because maybe he gets me some water first then.
So you went from drumsticks. Later on, you became a drummer.
Yeah.
But you started only with drumsticks.
Only with drumsticks, yeah.
How was that beginning? Because what do? Do you play on your bed, on a desk, or?
No, I played in the air. I
In the
just
air.
imagined, yes, I imagined the drum set in front of me and sat in front of my mirror
Hmm.
and got my headphones on and played to the records. My record player played to the
Hmm.
music I hear I've heard in the on my headphones, and yeah, and I did this for 1 year. The reason why I did this, we moved a lot. Maybe it's important to say this. We moved a lot through Germany. My family, my father, especially, he got jobs at different schools. And
Hmm.
one, when I was 10, we moved from an island, which was beautiful. My mother and I, we loved it there. But then my father got another job down south in Bavaria. And for a guy who comes from the north of Germany, goes to Bavaria as a kid during that time, it was a hard time to come to get there, and being from the north and being in Bavaria. So I got bullied in school. Even also, my father was a teacher at this school, and that was the time where I asked him for a drum set, got the sticks,
Hmm.
got bullied in school, and the first thing I did after school, I immediately ran home and
Mm.
played my invisible drum set.
Yeah. So it was an outlet to express
Yes,
yourself and.
yes, and it was getting better, of course, after I think 6 months. I made friends. It became a bit normal. And after
You're
one
normal.
year, yeah, and after 1 year, I was so in the school that I got some jobs, also organizing parties, and one big party with a band. And because I was one of the organizers, I was telling the band where to build up their set, their instruments.
Hmm.
And I asked the drummer if I may play on his drum set for just 5 minutes, and he said yes, yeah, go ahead. And then I played. Never been till then. I never played a real drum set, only my air drum set. And I sat down and I could play. I could
Wow.
play the rhythms. I just played on air drums. So that was,
That is amazing.
yeah,
So after that, I assume that was a big validation because you could play the drums.
yeah,
Did
of
you go
course.
on to being a drummer and get your own drum kit?
My father then decided to give me one
Okay.
on Christmas.
Hmm.
And yes, that time I started drumming immediately, not alone anymore. Just immediately joined groups, joined bands, joined other people to make music with,
Hmm.
and that was also kind of education, my musical education. I never had real teachers. I just yeah, I was a guy learning by doing guy.
So fast forward a few years.
Mm.
How did you discover the Hong, which for some listeners, it's the first handpan, the instrument that inspired handpans.
Yeah.
So how did you discover the Hong and what drew you to that instrument, which is very different from the drum kit?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, when I left school, I decided to be a musician at the age of 25. I
Mm.
decided to be a musician. Don't go to the university. Don't do any other jobs. Being a musician,
Hmm.
and also a comedian, because I always wanted um, to make music and theater, and funny theater was for me, yeah, one of my choices. And then yeah, got comedian, played in several shows as a comedian, as a musician, as a drummer, and got a friend in Berlin, and he had a connection to a Swiss guy who gave us the opportunity to play our show. We had at that time we had a show together. He was more like a stand-up comedian, and I was a music comedian, and we made a little show together, and got the opportunity to play in Zurich. And the year 2000 was 1 year after the Hyung was developed. No, they made it. Yeah, 1 year after. And I went into one day. We had always engagements like for 2 to 4 weeks. And one day I went into a music shop there in Zurich, a very good one, big one, great percussion area, and there was the Hyung.
Wow.
Besides the cash machine, and there were some other guys in the room looking for other stuff, and I saw the Hyung and saw this instrument, and wow, I said, what is this? And saw there was only one piece of paper saying what it is, what's the name, and how you can play it, only with hands. And then I just, because I was started with bongos, I had, I played it with my fingers, and immediately got the sound that it has when you play it properly. And the other guys, maybe with 8 people in the room, they were like getting up their heads, looking at me and saying, that's how it sounds, or supposed to sound. Yeah. So they of course had also tried it, and maybe didn't get the sound, and I got it. And immediately I was drawn to it and said, okay, I want to have some of these. And it also helps me to sing because, as I said before, my mother was a singer and I liked to sing. And that was my first experience with music, singing in choirs, singing in school. Had the talent to sing. And that was the perfect instrument for me as a drummer or percussionist to create my own songs. Yeah. And play it with a Hyung. Yeah.
Wow. What an amazing story. I think you're probably the person that I know who's been the first to discover the Hyung and to be a part of this incredible community of instrumentalists and enthusiasts around this art form.
Yeah, so I was one of the lucky guys, yeah.
Oh, right. That's amazing. So let's talk about YouTube quick, because that's how I first heard about you and watched your videos about more than 10 years ago, in 2007.
Yeah, and also we got know each other via YouTube.
Yeah, it was a great way to build community in those early days of the Hyung.
Yeah.
But I want to talk specifically about the number of videos that you've created.
Oh, yes. Oh, wow, yeah.
So you've created over 1,500 videos, 1,536.
Is that exact. True? I can't believe it. Yeah.
I checked
No,
today.
It is true. Yeah. Yes. I know.
So I'm curious to hear about your creative journey making so many videos over the years. What was that like?
It was exactly the reason was, the first reason was the Hyung and the fast internet and of course YouTube. It was like the Hyung for me was one step ahead, making my music, singing to an instrument that is not a piano, not a guitar, which most people use when they want to create their songs with singing. And then I discovered YouTube and the way of just making a video, load it up, and immediately got some reactions, which nowadays is normal. At that time, it was like, wow, I'm making a video, I load it up, and then after a few hours, I see reactions from all over the world and get also, of course, in contact with other people playing handpans. Yeah. And that was it was like, an explosion, a creative explosion, and always give and take. I saw things, And I also, as you know, I did music with other videos. I played a video on my laptop, sit in front of my laptop, put my camera on, and recorded what I do in front of the laptop. So I did like a multi-track video recording with bad quality, of course. But it was just a joy of doing it, just a joy of making music in my home with some other guys who are far, far away.
I love that. And the fact that you mentioned the word joy, because when you do something 1,536 times and to be continued, you're not doing it out of obligation or maybe to, I don't know, keep up with someone else. You're doing it out of joy, obviously over a 10-year period of time.
Yeah. Yes, of course. Yeah.
And I also love that your videos are more natural. At a time where online, in 2018, at the time of this recording, music videos are super polished and very, very professional and very produced.
Absolutely.
But there's something about your videos that are just inspiring, comforting, that invite us in because they're not intimidating. And you don't take yourself too seriously. You sing, which is not very common in the handpan, repertoire.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah, there's a few people starting, which is really
starting.
fun.
It's good. Yeah,
but I think you were the first to really kind of bring the instrument forth along with vocals.
Yeah, right. Yeah. People criticize this sometimes. Yeah. There were some comments under my videos. They say, "Oh, I like it. I like the playing until he started singing."
Well, people on the internet will always find a way to criticize something, but I think you've got something really special. And I can speak for myself. Your creative work is an inspiration, and the fact that it's different, the fact that it's not like the status quo, the fact that you stand out and you've got your own unique character and personality reflected in your music, I love that. And
Great, thank you.
It's part of the gift that we're given with handpans to be able to create simply. And I recommend that everyone go check out your music and your videos. And actually, where can people find your creative work online, Andi?
Yes, of course. As you mentioned, on my YouTube channel, which is got the name Andi Steil, ANDISTIEIL, Steil. Okay, Andi Steil. And also on Facebook with another name. This is my real full name, Andreas Raimund, like Raymond in the English world, Raimund Steil. And on my website, of course, andisteil.com, .de.
Excellent.
And live, sometimes, somewhere.
Yeah, I hear that you obviously perform in the theater pretty regularly, and that you include handpans as part of those performances.
Yes, I recently did. Last weekend I was in Berlin, played in the Quatsch Comedy Club, and I was the finalist of 4 comedians and one host. And I got 20 minutes, and I ended up with a handpan, with a Hyung. And it's always great to see that you can do this in a comedy club, which normally is crowded by an audience who want to see stand up.
Yeah.
But I'm still there, so I think they like it. The producers and the audience as well.
Yeah, I have no doubt about that, and I encourage you to continue because you've got something really special.
Thank you.
Well, Andi, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today and for sharing your story. I know it'll be a source of inspiration to anyone listening to this episode. So, really appreciate you, and I can't wait to continue. Following you online and seeing what you come up with.
Anytime.
Thanks, Andi. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Andi, and I want to go back to his story about the drumsticks for a moment. Andi wanted to play the drums. The kick, the snare, the cymbals, the tums, the whole thing, right? But his dad only gave him drumsticks. Now you can probably imagine the disappointment of only getting drumsticks when actually you want the whole drum kit. But as we heard the rest of Andi's story, this simple beginning with just drumsticks ended up being really powerful. Why? Because it gave Andi creative freedom. Technically, he didn't really learn to play the drums at first. He would just pretend and play in the air in front of a mirror. But he learned something far more valuable. He learned to get pleasure out of playing the drums. He developed a passion that would accompany him for the rest of his life. And I think that there's a good analogy for handpands here. Because with handpands, we get that same kind of creative freedom. Freedom from fear of doing it wrong, because just like there's no right or wrong way to play the drumsticks in the air in front of a mirror, the handpan doesn't really have a right or wrong way to play. The handpan gives us creative freedom, and I believe that this allows us to develop a passion and to actually start creating. And you know what? The most amazing thing is that as you develop a passion and start creating, well, magically, you become good at it. That's how Andi, after having never played on an actual drum kit, was able to play the drums, because he had experienced creative freedom and developed a passion for it. So as we create, let's bypass the fear of doing it wrong, and let's just enjoy the creative process. Because I think that not only will it be meaningful, but magically, that's how we'll get good at it while enjoying the journey like Andi did. That's it for this episode of the Handpan Podcast. If you want to experience the simple joy of creating, join our community on the Handpan Podcast Facebook group. It's a safe place to share your video and audio recordings, your thoughts and photos about your own creative journey. There's no competition or ego trip. It's just a place for us to connect in a meaningful way. So if that resonates with you, I hope to see you on the Handpan Podcast Facebook group. Thanks for listening to the Handpan Podcast, and see you in the next episode.